Hello, Flosstube. I am bravely making my first video for the Flosstube channel, and I'm hoping that everything works out all right. Please ignore what you see behind me. I'm not in the most ideal of situations here, but this is where I spend most of my time. I don't know if you can see behind me, but there's a cat back here, right here. Puck is, I don't know what he's doing. And my other cat is roaming around here somewhere, Snug. I have been cross-stitching for just shy of 30 years. It'll be 30 years next December, as a matter of fact. And the reason I can pinpoint it is that I learned how to cross-stitch as an adult from my older sister, who taught both my younger sister and I and how to do it. And the reason I can pinpoint is because I know what was going on in our lives at that time, at that specific time. I started watching Flosstube in the last week of September or first week of October, or something like that, because I had a cross-stitch question, and my younger sister, Naomi, suggested I go online and look for a tutorial that could answer that question. Because she said, you know, there's tutorials online for everything. And I typed in the word cross-stitch in my question, along with my question, and Flosstube came up. And I thought, what the heck is Flosstube? And I looked and saw all these videos and started watching them, and was fascinated. I hadn't really thought about there being an online community for cross-stitching. I don't know why, because I was on, I'd been online for other things, but I hadn't really thought about cross-stitching having an online community of any kind. But it's been a lot of fun. I had a lot of very drastic changes happen in the last couple of years, and cross-stitching was something that like I said, I learned how to do about 30 years ago, and I've sort of, put it down and picked it up over the years, but haven't done a whole lot compared to many people. In the last few years, I hadn't done very much of it at all, but due to my change in circumstances, I'm picking it up again and doing a little bit more now. I had been a musician, and I want to say I have a connection to Von Pfeiffer and Marlene Stitching by the Lake, and I'll explain that a little bit. With my cross-stitch story, that in 1988, I have a Bachelor of Music degree from the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque, where I'm from, and a Master of Music degree from Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, which is where Von Pfeiffer lived. Although I'm about 10 years older than Von, I believe. But anyway, so I lived in Bloomington for a couple of years while I was going to school there. And so I graduated from IU in '85, and I went back to Albuquerque, and I was taking auditions all over the country, trying to get an orchestra job. And my older sister, Eve, was living at that time in Florida, in Cocoa, Florida, and was working at Ben Franklin, which is it was a craft store. I don't think they exist anymore, but it was a craft store, like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And she learned how to cross-stitch there at Ben Franklin. I don't know if it was a class or from some people or whatever, but anyway. And then my younger sister, Naomi, was going to school in Boston at New England Conservatory, and she flew down to Florida for Thanksgiving, and Eve taught Naomi how to cross stitch. So when they came home for Christmas that year, they both each had little projects they're working on, big projects I should say, that neither of them finished, by the way. But I was feeling very left out. And I had never really been interested in anything, any kind of needlework or anything domestic. My older sister, she knew how to knit and crochet and stuff like that. She learned from my Aunt Eva and my grandmother. But then you can see right over my shoulder here is just a thing that my grandmother crocheted. My grandmother crocheted like a tick. She just always had to have her hands busy. Even when she really couldn't see, she would do things by feel, But anyway, so I was never really interested in anything. I had to sew for like home ec in 7th grade or something, and did just enough to get by there and whatever. But I really wasn't interested, except that I was feeling very left out while they were doing their project. So my older sister took me then. Before she went back to Florida, she took me to Hobby Lobby, I think, and I got a little beginner's kit thing, and she taught me how to cross stitch, and I learned how, and just kind of never looked back. I did more stuff than she and my younger sister. I don't think they ever finished anything, ever, in cross stitch, and all the things that I did, I actually gave away to other people. It was something I did as a gift for my mother for Mother's Day or something like that, and I've never done anything for myself. I have a couple of things that I started or things that I got for myself, booklets or kits or whatever, but I've never finished any of them, and they're all like sitting in my to-do pile. So in the following year, in '89, I got a job with an orchestra, with the Arkansas Symphony Orchestra in Little Rock, Arkansas. So, which is about an hour from Hot Springs, which is where Marlene lives. I believe she lives in the Hot Springs area. But yeah, I used to go down to Hot Springs all the time. When I first moved to Little Rock, I had students down in Hot Springs, and I taught them once a week or so, and then later on I was working full time, but the symphony has always gone down to Hot Springs once or twice a year, and so I had many occasions to go down there. So that's my connection to Vanna and Marlene, and now I live in Phoenix, in the Phoenix area, in Chandler, and because I kind of had to retire from the symphony, I developed a hearing problem and what's called an acoustic neuromyelitis, for those of you who may know anything about it. But anyway, I had, when I retired, I lost my hearing basically, or was in the process of losing it. And so I retired from the symphony and moved out here, and then last year I had a little bit of a health crisis, and I ended up in the hospital with brain surgery to remove that tumor. And it caused, they're snug. It caused a little, I had a stroke during surgery, and I really, for a while, last year, I could hardly walk. I used a walker and then a cane, and then now I can walk shorter distances. I walk unassisted, but it's kind of, it can be problematic if I'm not careful, if I overdo it or whatever. But anyway, I can still cross stitch. I have some loss of dexterity in my right hand. You can't really tell, but I can. But I can still cross stitch because cross stitching uses just your, for much of it, just these 3 fingers, and I can do that. So anyway, I'm hoping that, excuse me, I have a cat in my way. I'm hoping that my sister Naomi doesn't, well, both of my sisters, that my sisters don't watch this video yet because I'm gonna reveal some of what they're getting for Christmas. But so anyway, I did several stitchy things for Christmas, small Christmas gifts for this year, and I wanted to show a little bit of that. First of all, this is my project box. Whenever I'm doing a cross stitch, I put the threads that I'm using in a small box, whatever, because I have larger versions of the same kind of box that I keep all my threads in, excuse me, I've got a sneeze. But so I use these small project boxes for the threads that I'm using for whatever I'm stitching, and I don't really do more than one project at a time. I hadn't really ever thought about doing projects in rotation or whatever, like many people do. But I guess I'm just a monogamous stitcher or whatever. But I have several things that I have done, one right after the other. Since October, I started, doing things, little things that I'm giving as Christmas gifts, whatever. Right now, I'm working on finishing, I don't know if you can see this, some little angels from my mother on this little dishcloth thing. And this year is the first time that I'm actually stitching on like an even weave kind of fabric. I don't know what you would call this exactly. It's just, it's just like an even weave kind of thing. It's just a dish towel. I don't know what this particular cloth is. It's just a poly cotton blend or some kind, I think. But last year I had bought a little 3-pack of these sort of Christmas fabric things, dish towels, and so this little set of angels, I still have to do. There's some black stitching down here and back stitching that I'm doing for my mother, and I hope to finish it very soon. And in the same vein, I did some projects for my 2 sisters. My older sister likes snowmen, and my younger sister likes Santas. And I have tried to do some kind of snowman or Santa something for them each year. So I have this. I think this is going to turn out correctly. Yeah, once I upload this video. But there's a set of Santas and snowmen and angels that I'm doing for my mom and my older sister and my younger sister. And this Fingertip Friends for the holidays is a Leisure Arts little booklet thing that I got years ago. I think it's copyright 2010. I got years ago, and I didn't have any occasion to use it, but until now. But so just this year, I decided to take the plunge and stitch some things on the even weave. I've done little fingertip towels with Ada inserts on them for my mother in the past, but I had never. This was just, I guess these dish towels are intended for like regular embroidery or whatever, and so they don't have Ada cloth inserts, and and I've only ever stitched on Ada cloth. So, but and there's cat hair all over everything, of course. So I did these Santas for my younger sister. They're on like a Christmas fabric. And I did these snowmen for my older sister, and they're also on a Christmas fabric of little trees. So I did the snowmen. And actually, I did this one first, and I did, without thinking, I did 3 threads for the, I started with the gray, the light gray here, and the little, around it. And I did it with 3 threads because I was kind of going by what the instructions say for 14 count. The models, I guess, were stitched on 14 count 8 cloth insert things on the towels, using 3 strands for the cross stitch and 1 strand for the back stitch. And I didn't think about the fact that this is really tiny. But so after I did the gray, I switched to 2 strands for the cross stitch, and for the rest of it, so it came out okay. And on this one, the angels, I made a counting mistake in a couple of places, and so you can't really tell if you just glance at it, but if you look at it closely, you can tell that there's places where I made. You can see the mistakes that I made. In the same vein, my brother-in-law's sister and mother live here as well. They're not really, technically, not related to me, but we include them in all the family stuff, that we do out down here. And so for my brother-in-law's sister, I made this little thing I found on Etsy. I bought on Etsy. Come to the dark side, we have cookies. And the reason I did this was that she is actually a baker. She bakes for, she did bake for one of the grocery stores here, in their bakery department. And she works at, I think that they're Starbucks now, but she has done that in the past. So I thought that was kind of appropriate for her. But and I also did these little squares that Bucilla makes them, and they're 8 cloth squares. And I was trying to come up with some ideas, to do for various people. I have 2 nephews and a niece and my 2 sisters, and they're snug. But anyway, so I wanted to do some more cross stitch things, because I have a lot of stuff, a lot of stash, I guess, cloth and floss and stuff in it, so I can and patterns and everything, so I can do it pretty cheaply for them, because I'm on a fixed income. Actually, now I'm on disability, and so, excuse me, just a minute. My cat's trying to knock everything down. But anyway, so I try to find some inexpensive ways that I can do things. So this I made for my, I don't know if you can see this now because it's of the, I don't know if it helps. I made this for my nephew. It's just a little Chevy logo and a little truck and a simple border. I think I got the border idea out of another leaflet that I have that has borders on it. That has a bunch of different borders. But anyway, I did the Chevy logo. My nephew's very into cars and trucks and anything with wheels. And ever since he was a little kid, when he was young, it was really easy because I could just buy him a Hot Wheels car and he was happy. And anyway, so this Chevy logo, I was going to do a Chevy logo just for him to hang on the wall because with his car collection or whatever. And in researching the Chevy logo, I found that for 2018. They're going to use this original logo where it says Chevrolet and has a line above and below it. they're going to use that on their trucks because it's a 100-year anniversary. I don't know if you can see this. It says 1918 to 2018 is their their anniversary. I don't know if it's when they started making trucks or they started making Chevrolet cars or whatever, or if they started using that logo. I don't know. I can't remember. But on their 2018 Chevy models, they're going to use that original logo. So I thought that was kind of fun and appropriate for him. For his sister, my niece, I kind of cobbled together some different Etsy things that I came across. One was a Darth Vader thing that said the sass is strong in this one, and if you knew my niece, you would know that the sass is strong in this. And then I used this smaller little cute Darth Vader kind of image, and so I did this for my niece. And the only thing about this is that, I don't know if you can tell, but this line right here is not centered correctly. It needs to be over like one or two stitches over, I think. But when you first glance at it, it doesn't look bad. And this is for my other nephew, my older sister's son. It's supposed to be Kylo Ren. I think this was this is also off of Pinterest. I think it's like a perler, whatever those little, I guess, because it's not specifically a cross stitch pattern, because it didn't have any of the colors or whatever, so I sort of just chose some. And it should probably be a little bit darker, little darker grays, and but I wanted the gray to stand out against the black a little bit more than the original pattern did. But anyway, so that's for my nephew. That's just a little Kylo Ren. If you're a Star Wars buff, you know who Kylo Ren is. Sorry, there's a bunch of cat hair on this. For my younger sister, who is she does a lot of machine quilting. Matter of fact, she made me a very lovely quilt last year when I was in the hospital. I had brain surgery last year. I don't know if I said that earlier. But, yeah, I did. But, so she made this blanket for me, this quilt. She made a quilt for me while I was in the hospital. And so anyway, she's made a few quilts now for friends and family and fundraisers and things like that. But so I made this little it's just a little quilting square kind of thing, and a simple border that I just made up. But so this is hers. And then for my older sister, I made this little baby Groot thing. There's a cat hair, more cat hair. I really need to run the lint roller over this. But this is another thing I found on Pinterest or Etsy or something. Anyway, it's I think the original program was just Baby Groot, and it had a plain gray flower pot, and somebody else had added notes and added some shading on the pot. And then I added the I Am Groot business, and and again, a simple border. And if any of you have seen Guardians of the Galaxy, Baby Groot is one of the characters in the second movie. In the first movie, he's an adult. In the second movie, it's a long story. But anyway, he's very cute. But the only thing he ever says is, "I am Groot." And, the other project I have is for a friend of mine, an Eiffel Tower bookmark thing that I haven't done anything on it. So, But, so I'm not going to show it. But this was the first year that I did anything for myself, and I didn't finish it because I stopped because I decided to work on cross-stitch stuff for Christmas. So, but I'm almost done with this. There's just a few things left to do. But for myself, I did this elephant. I started it earlier this year, and I've been working on it for a few months now. All that's left to do is around his feet, just like the pattern says, put random grass, and then it lists like 3 different colors for the random grass that you insert here. And I've done one color. I've done some in one color. And this is actually what this pattern is, this one and the one I did before this for my niece. Is what drove me to Flosstube in the first place. And I kind of mixed up 2 different things for my niece, the project I was doing for my niece, and this one that I was doing for myself. In that the one I did for my niece had some of the couching stitches in it, and I'd never done couching before, and I tried to do what it said in the instructions in this kit. It was a tiger dimensions kit, little tiger thing, and it had a bunch of whiskers around the face, and some of them it called for the a couching stitch, and I didn't know how to do that, and I tried to do, like I said, I tried to do what the instructions said, but I didn't like the way it looked. I wasn't doing it right from what I've seen now, tutorial about it, but I just used a regular straight stitch for the whiskers. So when I got to this elephant, it again called for the straight stitch, and I was thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. I kind of mixed up the couching stitch and the straight stitch in my head, and that's what I was looking for online, and that's how I found Flosstube. But so I have since seen a tutorial about the couching stitch, and of course the straight stitch. I know how to do that anyway for the back stitch for the grass on the elephant's feet. So I'm just going to do a straight stitch to do that. But one other thing I wanted to talk about was, is that for my next project, when I'm done with the elephant and done with everything for Christmas, is I want to try to chart, I guess you would call it a sampler. I've seen a lot of videos by the Kitten Stitcher about doing restoration samplers and stuff like that. And I saw a sampler a long time ago, a restoration sampler, I guess, years and years ago. Excuse me. Snug. The thundering herd. But I've only ever shopped at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby for cross-stitch stuff. And years ago I saw at one of those stores a sampler that I really wanted to do, but it wasn't, I guess, I was, what I was doing something else, and it really wasn't my budget. I just, saw it. But I kind of, like the verse that was in it was a few lines, and I kind of memorized that, but I never, but then I never saw the little, pamphlet again, and I don't remember the girl's name, and, but so I looked up the lines from that I remembered. I looked it up online, and it's like from an old hymn, I guess. I didn't find the sampler. I didn't really look for it, but I did find those words were from an old hymn. But anyway, so it got me thinking, and what I want to do is there's a hymn that I like, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, that I want to chart as a sort of a sampler. And that's sort of one of my next projects for the new year. And I just haven't decided what stitches I'm going to use or how I'm going to do it. It's just in my head. I have the words for the hymn written down, and I have a few ideas for what I'm going to do with it, but I haven't. They're not really fully formed ideas. I've put it off thinking about it, doing it. I've put it off until I finish all my little Christmas projects. So I'm truly going to start thinking about it. Maybe the minute I finish, I don't know, Christmas, I don't know. But, and one last thing I wanted to show. Oh, this is a little quilted bag that my sister made for me a long time ago when she was first learning how to machine quilt. And I use it to put my cross-stitch stuff in a lot of times. It's just a bag. Just a little tote bag thing, but I have all my cross-stitch stuff in there. Here's the little bookmark I'm gonna make for my friend, my good friend who works for the State Department. But anyway, but before I knew any better, one thing that I did was this pattern that's all beat up and everything. Is a little wedding sampler, and I did this for my younger sister and her now husband when they were getting married, and it's called When Love Blooms by Diane Brakefield, I guess, and it has this design, the swans, and I looked all over, and it took me a while to find something that I really liked, that I thought my sister would like. And the poem is lovely, but I didn't want to use it. I wanted the Shakespeare sonnet 116. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when an alteration finds, etc. So, but the sonnet was too big and too long, for this space, and rather than elongate or, stretch the design that was here, I used other stuff in the design. I used these flowers that are here in the middle, and then this booklet comes with a bunch of other designs that are, that coordinate, to use the same colors and everything. So there's this little tray idea, and I think they did it as a pillow also. But it's like 4 separate corners that are just mirrored, and all these other designs. And so I put all those designs together, and I remember I had to do it by hand because I tried to eyeball it, and like I was coming, it was gonna, it was gonna be a mistake or whatever, and it was it was too intricate and too many details to do it by just eyeballing. So I ended up, and I'm just going to show this briefly, you can't really see it, but I ended up recharting everything. And so I used all those other little designs in various places where the sonnet, as I wrote it out, it left like basically, empty spaces in the design. So I used all these other elements of the design, and I don't know if you can see this. It's very small, but that's how it looked in the end. That's probably the only picture I have of it. But anyway, I don't know if it's very glary. But see, I used all these different elements. There's a smaller version of the swans here, and there's the 4 corners here, and various other design elements. And it came with an alphabet because you could put the couple's initials and their names or whatever. So I used it to write the sonnet, and you can't really see it very well. But the only problem was that like I said, I had to sort of, you know, rechart everything. I remember lying on the floor in my apartment in Little Rock, making that chart, and because of course the chart was in that I was writing, you know, I was doing it in pencil. So and the original chart from the booklet is in color. So so like, you know, you might have a pink triangle and a green triangle and a blue triangle, and you know, I had to come up with a different symbol because I couldn't duplicate a color, of course. So I had a pink triangle was this color, and the green triangle I had to come up with a different symbol, and whatever color went with it, and then a blue triangle I had to come up with yet another symbol. So on the brochure, what do you call it? The pattern, I have a little list of, you know, symbols and colors and stuff. But anyway, so I'm hoping, I'm thinking about doing a sampler thing for this hymn that I was talking about. But anyway, so sorry, but so I'm hoping now that to do more Flosstube videos. This is my first one, so I'm hoping that I can come up with some better lighting ideas and better situations so you don't see my messy bed that my cat is jumping up on. I should have made my bed before I did this. But anyway, so I'm hoping that you see something you like, and that you subscribe to my videos, or at least watch them. And I actually have a few things that I might give away if I get enough subscribers. They're just patterns that maybe are no longer my style. I have one project that is sort of, I actually had started it. I didn't realize I had done as much as I did. I did some stitching on it. And if anybody wants, it's just, you know, I know a lot of people stitch on linen and even weave and whatever other fabrics. And this is just on oilcloth. And I don't know if anybody wants to do anybody else's half-done work, but I don't know what I was thinking. It's just not my style anymore, and it's a lot of stitches. It's not exactly full coverage, but it's a lot of stitching, and it's like a basket with flowers and a hat and wallpaper that you do and stuff like that, and it's just not really anything I'm interested in any longer. And next time maybe I'll have more of that stuff that I want to give away or whatever, that, you know, anybody is welcome to it, because I'm never going to stitch it. It's one of those things where, you know, that if I don't give it to somebody else who wants it, I'm probably going to take it to Goodwill or something like that. But anyway, so I'm hoping that you enjoy something that I did and that I uploaded. And I wanted to say that I'm going to call my channel phantastitches with a PH, Fanta with a PH. That's sort of an online nickname I've always had. My name is Beth. I don't know if I said that at the beginning of the video. My name is Beth. But you can call me Beth, you can call me Fanta, whatever you want to call them. I go by either one. Today is December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day for those in the U.S. who remember that. I had, I guess, about 4 uncles that were involved in World War II. One of my uncles, my Uncle Amos, was shot down over Burma. My Uncle Saul served in Europe, and those are my dad's brothers. My mother's brothers, Dan and Sam, served stateside here. And my Uncle Joe was old enough for the Army, but had a hearing disability, so he was prevented from joining the Army. But so my uncles, those 4 uncles, were involved in World War II. Anyway, that's a very somber way to end my video. But so my name is Beth, phantastitches. And so if you would please, if you're interested, please subscribe. And I'm hoping to do another video sometime soon. I don't know if it'll be before Christmas or not. This depends on if I have something else to talk about. But I hope to see you again soon.